So welcome back, everybody. This is Paul again, and this is the second of my series about esoteric psychology. As I presented in the first episode here, I'm not a trained psychologist. I don't have an advanced degree. I have a lot of experience with meditation and the research about various aspects of awareness, and I have studied some of the modern psychology and so on, and had a lot of interaction with people who are specialists in that area. But basically, my observations, if they are helpful to you, it's up to you. I present this information with no claim, but I encourage people to just listen a little bit and see if there's something in there that I have said that resonates with you. And one of the things that I have inspired me over the years about awareness is this book here called The Light of the Soul. Now, this book is a translation and a commentary on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which was written by a man, Patanjali. It's at least 5,000 years old, came out of the Indian tradition, the Hindu tradition, and he wrote these 108 aphorisms about, well, sutras means, a sutra is like a stitch. The way, it's a way of integrating ourselves with the cosmos, okay? And our awareness, the question is, who are we? That's the age-old question. Our awareness has many subtleties and dimensions that we're not conscious of most of the time. And that's what these great sages like Patanjali have discussed and talked about. And it's not just a theoretical thing, because they're actual techniques that help us use our physiology and our body to actually experience expanded awareness and an awareness of the subtle, the hidden, the subtle, and the remote, as Patanjali mentions here. And I want to read the first 4 sutras. There's 108 of them. Apparently, what he was asked, well, why are there only 108? There should be a lot more. And he says, if I had lived longer, it would be even less, because it reduces the simplicity. Okay, our awareness, our self-knowledge, is built into us. It's not something we have to achieve. We actually just have to just do nothing. It sounds funny to say that, but in reality, if you just look at the eyes of a baby, they're just not doing anything. They're just being aware. They're being conscious. And they have an incredible vehicle that they just got born into. And we have that same vehicle. All our lives, we have this incredible vehicle of awareness. And to use it, to function with it, Patanjali and many of the other great sages said, look, there are techniques to help us understand that we can understand and feel our own existence on many other levels than what we're normally acquainted with. And so I want to read you the first few sutras. A sutra actually is like a stitch. Apparently it has some familiarity with the word, with the meaning of stitch, to integrate our mind and our awareness with the cosmos, to sew ourselves into it in a way. Because if you look at the atomic level on our skin on an atomic level, there's just air and there's electrons and there's, science tells us there's all these just subtle levels of heat and so on, and things that are coming out from our body, and it just flows into the cosmos, and we're just part of it here. Our identity, what we identify with in our mind, say, oh, well, I am so and so, but that if we fixate on a hard identity of some kind, then it's just going to fluctuate, because our body changes, our mind changes, personality changes, lots of things change in our life, and we're always trying to identify with this shifting sand. But there's awareness, there's a deeper awareness that we go to when you close your eyes and subdue our senses. We feel an integration and ourselves stitching into and connecting with the greater cosmos. Now, here's the first 4 sentences from this great teacher, Patanjali. Om. The following instruction concerns the science of union. This union, or yoga, is achieved through the subjugation of the psychic nature and the restraint of the mind. When this has been accomplished, the yogi knows himself as he is in reality. Up until now, the inner man has identified himself with his 4 forms and with their sense objects, and the modifications of the mind. See, what they're basically saying, potentially saying, is look, we have a real identity that is just not associated with all the objects. And we make a mistake. It's a natural mistake that every human being makes. It's just from the time we're young, we start identifying with the way that we are taught and the objects of our senses. But beyond that, there's a way for us to unite, to have a feeling of union. Our feeling awareness is not limited to the senses. Okay, when we subdue our now, I'm going to do a few exercises, and I want to teach a little bit about where to look and how to start approaching this concept of knowing ourselves as a non-local awareness, not limited to the body. There's techniques. If you follow our breath, for example, our breathing, we don't take much consciousness of it most of the time. We just keep breathing, whatever. And maybe we get hyperventilated sometime or out of breath sometime, but we don't notice a lot of times our breathing. Just like that breathing that is subtle, there's a lot of other chemical reactions and subtle actions that are going on so that we can have our existence. When we subdue our senses, we start to get away from associating and identifying with an identity that has to do only with our senses. You see, there are people who are born that have no eyes, or they have damage to their body or something, and they don't, but there's still an awareness. When we close all our senses, we still have an awareness. On some level that's integrated into the cosmos on some very subtle level. When we start experiencing that, we have a liberation. We have a knowledge and a knowingness that takes us into another dimension of our awareness. Now, I have a few notes here, and I try to make a little bit of notes because one can get very distracted in trying to make a little video like this. But for example, let's say we understand our awareness as a little bit of a valve. Okay, we have this little point of awareness, our thinking and our concepts and our so on. And let's say, it lets in a certain amount of information from the outside world. Maybe our senses are dulled or whatever. But even like on our best day, we're really conscious. There's a limit to what we can take in on the inside, on the outside. Okay, now, on the same level, there's something else going on in our psyche that's perceiving all the subtle things that sometimes are intuition, like, okay, I just sense something over there, or maybe someone's behind me, or maybe there's a bear in the woods, or something like that. We feel a sensation of awareness that is a little bit beyond what we normally consider as our senses, our physical senses, okay? We all know that. That's integrated into our being. We don't have to achieve anything. We have to just let go. The art of doing nothing is the science of meditation. Okay, so what this man here, Patanjali, was teaching us was that we have a state of union. That's our natural state, and we tend to get diverted, and we have a misconception of what we identify with. If we start identifying with only the things around us that we see, physically touch, and everything, and our concepts about ourselves, all that is just like sand. It can be washed away. It can be gone. Okay? But there's another level of beingness that, just like we can say, well, this is my something. I own this. Well, who is the person that owns it? We don't have that mirror that we need to understand, well, who is talking? Who's the one that's perceiving? Who is that being that's perceiving? You see, now the great teachers, they're just like a mirror. They hold up a saying, say, look, this is who you are. Close your senses a bit, go inside, feel your own being, feel yourself breathing within the universe, feel that subtle connection with the cosmos that's printing you, basically just keeping you alive. Feel that. And then you start to have what's called self-knowledge. Now, again, I talk about knowledge and I talk about psychology. I want to talk a little bit about what the inner self, knowing what the inner self is, by having experience. We know that, okay, we're not this body. Well, how does that translate into a lot of the rest of our life? When we start letting go, we realize that every single thing in the outside, all our relationships and everything, there's a certain non-reaction that we have to perceiving accurately, because just like a perfect telescope, it has a perfectly ground mirror. It has to be just perfect because it wants to reflect accurately what's out there. Our own being needs to be honed into just basically a very, very clear reflective perception, non-reactive perception to this life. Because then we'll understand, then whatever we experience is going to be real. If we put up sunglasses or green glasses or red glasses in front of our eyes, everything's going to look that color. What Patanjali and these great sages are saying, look, we have to drop all those concepts of what's real. And then we're going to start to really experience what is real. And that is more fantastic than we can possibly imagine. All the great imaginations, all the great songs, all the great images, everything is coming out of this great cosmic thing that we're just a part of. We're just a part of it. We can't understand it. We're never going to understand it. If we live our whole life, we can't intellectually understand this cosmos. But we can feel something. And that's called the science of union. There's techniques and ways to directly integrate. Let's say you have a valve, like our mind is a valve, okay? Our own little mini perception. We have this little tiny little perception, little valve that we have, like if it doesn't fit our concepts, we won't let it in. But meanwhile, reality is building up inside. There's a reality that's coming to us every day, every breath of our life, becoming some kind of cosmic reality, just keeping us alive again and again, hour after hour, minute after minute. The cosmos is circulating, everything's going on, and we're just worried about, like, wearing is our mask straight or something like that. There's something deeper in our being. Now, esoteric psychology has to do with expanding our perception, letting ourselves be who we truly are, and not identifying with the limited concepts. Like, how many people in their life, some teacher told them, or some parent told them, or somebody told them along the line, oh, you will never be a good singer, or you'll never be a good artist, or they even told, apparently John Lennon, they told him, his mother told him, you'll never be very good at guitar. You see, so we have all these concepts laid on us. But if we just go inside our own being, it doesn't matter what shape your body is, what color it is, or where you live in the world, you have this incredible golden opportunity of having a human life that you can do something with, and you can expand your awareness and having the science of union. And it's not a very difficult science, you see. It's not like you got to learn calculus. It's kind of like you just have to do nothing. And let ourselves experience. Now, there's another book that I really love, and that's the Upanishads. I've talked about that many times. And I want to read this little section here. It's from a little particular part of the Upanishads. There's a number of parts of the Upanishads, and this is the introduction to one of the parts. Man, in his ignorance, identifies himself with the material sheaths that encompass his true self. Transcending these, he becomes one with Brahman, who is pure bliss. It's a question of what we identify with. It's a very, very simple thing. What we identify with is something limited, and if we just put that aside for a while and start feeling something grander. A good example is, let's say you're on the ocean and you're on the beach and you just lay in the shallow water near the ocean, and you just lay there and you just feel the waves just kind of wash up on you, and you can feel a connection with this infinite ocean that covers 3/4 of the earth, and there's all kinds of billions and trillions of beings and creatures in that ocean, and you can get a sense of feeling, because your skin has water in it, your body has water in it, and you're immersed in this ocean, and you just feel this life and this beautiful energy around you, and you can feel it. It's the same way with meditation. There are subtle essences of this cosmos. We live in an ocean of energy and joy and bliss, and on some level, all this light that's coming to us, all the light from the sun, all the different things that are coming to us that are keeping us alive, it's just one incredible, vast, fantastic phenomena that we are a part of. So when people go about their lives, they diminish their own selves by not identifying. But with that, they identify, we identify with the things that are much more limited, you see, and that's a problem. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of religions. So basically, the idea is like, it's become, like religions have become so dogmatic and like they don't even know the truth sometimes. They just like have concepts and so on. But basically, all it is very simple. You don't have to have a book to understand who you are. You see, we don't, you know, you look at the animals, they don't need to have a book to understand what they should eat or where they should go or how they should live. They just do it. Human beings have an innate need and a facility for being our true self. The problem is that when we sit and meditate, for example, there's a number of things that happen when you sit. The first time you sit and meditate and try to subdue your senses, a lot of times what you do is you start feeling your body. Okay, well, is my body comfortable? If I'm uncomfortable, if I'm in pain or something, it's like, okay, you start feeling your body. And then maybe your body's comfortable, your mind is chatting away and you're rehearsing all these things. A lot of the chatter that goes on in our mind is just about our limited identity. It's like whether we should have said something to somebody or we should have done some chore or what are you going to do tomorrow and all those kind of chatter. What are you going to... So there's... If you can just put that aside for a little while, the chatter, that doesn't need to happen, because when these people say, well, I am thinking, well, who is that I that's thinking? Okay, what about the I am with no, just blank? I am, period. That's just I am. Our breathing is defining our existence. I am, om, ah, There are certain natural sounds, there are certain natural resonances that we can use to synchronize and resonate with the cosmos. That's what yoga's, there's mantra yoga, there's sounds that you can use, there's all kinds of approaches, but we have to use that facility of our attention, our mind, to ask those important questions and look in the mirror. I challenge people who are listening to this, try this sometime. Go and look in the mirror and just, nobody's around you to judge you, to determine whether you're good or bad or anything. You just look in your mirror, no matter what you've done in the past or what your plans are in the future. Just look at yourself like, I have this body. I got this body. It's an amazing body. All of us. We got this amazing facility here. And whatever the moment is, whatever the past is, it's gone. We got whatever, how much time we have. We don't know how much time we have. But in a minute, it can change your life. That's true. So, in terms of realizing who we are as human beings, a lot of it has to do with just simplicity and authenticity, just letting go. And letting that valve, there's a valve, you might say, like I said, in that opens up, they might call it a lens, okay? Open up that lens of our own awareness so that we can perceive and allow more light in, the information, because it's innate. It doesn't have to be achieved. It's not, this is a very important point I'm emphasizing again. I have to make this video short, but a lot of realization is doing nothing at all except letting go of what concepts that we have so that we can just breathe. It's kind of like fear affects our breath. If we have a fear of something, our breath will be short and it'll be anxious and so on. But when we have a relaxed understanding and a feeling of safety, our breathing is just relaxed. We don't have to fear in this life. And a lot of what self-realization is, and a lot of what psychology is trying to achieve, modern psychology, is to help people just be happy and clear in their life. And it's not so difficult, because just it involves a lot of just letting go, as I mentioned. And I'm going to talk more about this again, letting go and letting our senses come down to a rest and feeling our own breathing as above, so below. We are a microcosm, you see. This is a really important thing to understand. Our human existence is a microcosm of the deity, or whatever you call it, the infinite. This body that we have has this amazing facility to become aware of our integration so that we feel that union and we don't go of our life feeling all separate from everything. Separate from everything is the pain of what's called hell. You just like to feel like this nothing. But when we integrate, it's like the safety of feeling connected to something that's divine and infinite. It's just very joyful. So I have to make this short. Please like and share. I'm going to keep making more videos about esoteric psychology. Again, I present this information with no claim. If it can help you in some way and benefit you in some way, then it's meaningful. But we all have this innate ability to understand our own existence without reading 10,000 pages of psychology books. It's not that difficult. But we have to actually practice and try to realize a little bit different approach in understanding who we are as beings. So thanks again for watching. Please like and share, and I'll see you in hopefully in another video.